All right, so this Chemical Guys TORQ DA15 was recently on sale. It seemed like a better deal than it actually ended up being. It was on sale for $69. Like $69 for a 15 millimeter random orbit polisher is great by any standards, even if it's a brand you can't even pronounce on Amazon. And so I figured, all right, impulse buy, I'll give it a try. I wasn't even shopping for one. I have four other ones, but it came up as a recommendation on the Walmart app. I was like, all right, 69 bucks, let's give it a go. Totally an impulse buy, spur of the moment kind of a thing. It looked good on paper. So I said, all right, let's check it out. It allegedly was normal price $269. Most of the places I see selling it for now are more in like 120 to 150 range. Still a good deal at 69, but kind of inflated the deal that it really was in reality. Not a big deal. That's not my beef with it. I took it out of the box, and to be honest, it's most likely going back. I'm not really impressed with it. I haven't even used it, but to me, even at $69, it doesn't seem like a $69 polisher. Just the type of plastic that all of this is, the little finishes on these things, just the feel of that seam there. It doesn't feel like a great plastic. There's no rubber on this part of the handle at all. So that's not going to be comfortable in the hand. It's all just hard plastic, right? Pretty much any even cheap Amazon polisher is going to have some kind of rubber or grip or something soft here. Could I add something? Yeah, of course, but why bother if I didn't really need the polisher? This part here feels all right. It is a little rubbery, but then the underside, which is kind of where you actually spend more time with any kind of pressure, this is all just hard plastic. So I didn't like that. I did really like this backing plate. I like that the grooves are in there, not only for ventilation, but most of us, we all kind of put a line on the edges of that anyway to just monitor the rotation. So I thought that those little sort of cuts were a nice touch. I did kind of like that. So it's not all bad. This on-off switch it's very stiff. It's not easy to turn on and off. It takes a lot more pressure. I'm very much used to a trigger on pretty much everything else. Going all the way back, I mean, I'm not a professional, but I've been detailing my own cars for 20 plus years, probably close to 25 years at this point. Going all the way back to my first one was one of those huge 10-inch things from a auto store. But I had a Porter cable and still do somewhere. For the longest time, I've had a couple of Griot's Garage ones. So I detail probably 4 times a year between all my cars. So I know a lot of people like the digital display. I'm not keen on it. It's not something I can feel. You got to look at it. I really like the knob to be able to scroll through it. And so I was kind of thinking, all right, well, at this price point, what's my basis for comparison, right? Obviously, it's not going to compare with a Rupes or even a Max Shine for that matter. So I've had this one from Amazon, but Workpro for probably 2 years, maybe 3. So I've probably used it half a dozen times. I'd say I've probably done 6 cars with this. I love it. I was very pleasantly surprised as opposed to being very disappointed with that one. And I feel like they're at a similar enough price point that they can be compared. I think this one these days you can usually catch it for 80 or 90 bucks, definitely under 100 bucks, right? But it's not under 100 bucks on sale from 269 or some nonsense. I like that it's a trigger and it's got the trigger lock. It just stays in there and it pops out. So it works really good there. I do prefer a knob. That's probably just a preference thing. I go back and forth between having the D handle on. That's not going to make or break anything. One small thing I would change about this still doesn't have anything soft here. And I wish it did have more of that hooked shape like the Chemical Guys TORQ does. That's probably one of the few things I would change about this. I just kind of wish it had a little bit more rubberization and maybe a little bit more of a shape to it here. But it at least has some rubberization here. It's comfortable in the hand. I don't have a scale that can actually weigh these by themselves, so I went kind of silly and I weighed myself, then myself with one of them, and myself with the other one. And at least my bathroom scale, it didn't measure any difference between the two. So they both technically weigh the same, but I'll tell you, the feel of both doesn't. I feel like this one's more balanced, right? Let me pop the cord off here so you can kind of see it. I remember being very, very surprised with the Workpro, and being that it was Amazon, like we all probably do. I bought it thinking, you know what, I'll give it a shot. It's Amazon, I can always send it back, right? That's kind of like the way I do a lot of things. But I remember being very impressively surprised by this one. I frankly like the look of it. I know Josh V had also reviewed this, and a few other guys reviewed this. And the reviews is the other thing that makes me really reluctant to keep this. Almost every YouTube video you can see about any of the Torques, none of them are from professionals, from people that are really known for doing YouTube videos on detailing products and equipment. Almost everything is just from Chemical Guys themselves and an occasional DIY person. The other thing that kind of turned me off to this one, on the actual Walmart app, you look at the reviews, and the reviews are very high, right? Obviously, that's always going to make anybody more likely to buy something. But, and I like the transparency that they put in this, nearly all of them said, you know, incentivized user or incentive given or solicited review, all that kind of stuff. So it's like it's bought reviews. That immediately taints the credibility of any of these things to me. So just feel alone, it when you pick it up from here, it just feels much heavier than this one does, right? This one just feels a lot better in the hand. This one feels a lot more, I guess, top heavy and less balanced. Like I said, it didn't measure differently on my basic, you know, bathroom scale. But it just, I noticed even just unboxing it, I was just like, wow, this one doesn't, I was waiting for it to measure like 2 pounds heavier or something like that, but it didn't. This one has been really good to me. I get great results with it. And it does have the little cuts built in, but I added some little paint marker just to kind of monitor the spinning because it's black. So again, if the only thing I like about the Torque is the red backing plate with the cuts, obviously you can buy a backing plate for about $5. So it's most likely going back. Very, very disappointed, especially with fake reviews, bought reviews, and no real credible reviews on YouTube. Even some of those reviews that you see where it's, you know, 25 polishers tested, 30 polishers tested. The few I saw said that the Chemical Guys and TORQ refused to participate. They didn't want their machines in there. That doesn't tell me like, hey, we're proud of our stuff. You know, you'll never see Milwaukee doing that in any kind of an experiment or test. You won't see Rupes doing anything like that. So, you know, that was kind of a bummer. I'm going to do just a real basic actual test. So I haven't even so much as like polished anything with this. I turned it on briefly. I didn't really love the way it felt either. I'm going to do a quick turn it on, spin it in the hand. I have a basic, just cheap pad that came with something, and I have an old used headlight that I just want to polish up and get rid of. So I'm going to use it on that instead of testing it on my own car. I don't have like a test hood like a lot of detailing places do. So give me 1 second. Let me try that out. So a side note, one of the other things that had turned me off to Chemical Guys not that long ago, I had bought this on Amazon. It is verbatim identical to the ones that Chemical Guys sell, just with a Chemical Guys logo here. This one, I think I bought it for $20. I bought it as just an extra to have. It didn't last. The threads kind of pop off and they don't stay sealed anymore. But I think Chemical Guys sells their one for like $60. And it's verbatim identical. They were very obviously just branding it and reselling it. So, you know, not a turn on when it comes to something a brand does. And I get it. I mean, they're the box store marketing genius company, not really innovating anything, a lot of rebranding and just, you know, selling at Walmart and whichever it is, AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts, they sell at one of those. But when they basically just rebranded this, that was kind of a turn off. The other thing, and I swear I have no loyalty to Workpro, but this was the first Workpro I bought. I then bought this one, which was pretty clearly, you know, inspired by the Porter cable. and it was super cheap. It came up as like one of those lightning deals on Amazon around Black Friday or something, and it fortunately I was able to swap it out for a 3-inch backing plate. So now this is my 3-inch, right? Obviously, that's not something you're doing a whole car with, but just doing a 3-inch in the the rocker panels and little weird areas you need to do a 3-inch. It's a fantastic thing. Still has a knob, still has some rubberized. This area is kind of hard, but it's so much smaller and lighter that I usually end up holding it just kind of like this, anyways. But it's almost identical to the old Porter cable. The other thing I do want to do with all of these that I've seen a lot of people doing these days is changing out the grease. I think that alone could really close some of the gap between, a lot of these cheap machines, these Workpros, the SPTAs, and all that kind of stuff. I think it could really bring those, those gaps a lot smaller. So let's try turning on the two different machines. So this is the Workpro. That was on 5, sorry. So this is speed 1. No vibration, pretty quiet. I do like the knob also because it's variable, and you can just do a little bit more. No notable vibrations at all. I do think a grease change can upgrade that one pretty good. But no vibrations, no weird noises. Works pretty well. One of my old Griot's Garage ones, towards the end, that thing just started making all kinds of funky noises. I think either the brushes were going bad or it really needed new grease. Before I even really knew about swapping out the grease on these things. So now on to the Chemical Guys. And again, just holding it like this, you couldn't otherwise convince me this thing wasn't 50% heavier. It just feels weird. Very, wants to come down, very, very sledgehammer feel. But you turn it on and then nothing happens, right? You have to put it into a speed as opposed to the other one, at least, start wherever you're at. There is something I noticed that's weird about when you first turn this on. The speed's inconsistent. It kind of speeds up and slows down and levels out, even on speed 1. And I thought that was kind of odd. So check that out. So I don't know if you can catch that on the camera, but it definitely had some inconsistency to the overall speed. The other thing I'm noticing, and I'm not sure what's up with it, is just these two little metal bits sticking out here. Like it doesn't make it look more polished, pun intended, but it doesn't make it look any better, that's for sure. And just the fit and finish, the gap's weird over here, it's different over here. So yeah, it's not impressing me. Certainly would have never in a million years paid anywhere near $269 for this thing. I think that's kind of a joke. But no, let's go up to speed 3 where we were with the other one. And that switch, again, it just feels terrible. It takes more effort than it should. I get that it shouldn't be easily triggered on, but that's odd. It definitely vibrates less at the higher speeds, but at lower speeds, 3 and below, it definitely vibrates more than the Workpro. And the Workpro is not new. It's definitely been used a bunch of times. I'm also noticing, I don't know if that'll show up on camera, the badge is weird. It almost looks like somebody sanded it and missed the spots. I don't know. That's weird. That's a weird texture. Yeah, there we go. That's just weird. Not a deal breaker, but just weird. So let's go through the higher speeds on this one again. Yeah, I mean, this one still gets smoother at the higher speeds, but it's smoother than the Chemical Guys at the lower speeds. So definitely bizarre. Yeah, it's not a keeper. Very disappointed. So I got this old headlight from an old car of mine. It's a little scraped up and whatnot. I'm just gonna polish it up just so that I can sell it at least for something. Basically, just get it out of my house. But this is basically the next test I'm gonna do. Um, it comes with a 5-inch backing plate. This is a cheap, free with one of my other polishers kind of pad. So I didn't care enough to waste a good pad on something like this. But I just wanted to see how it felt actually doing some polishing. So I'm just gonna prime it a little bit. And again, still think it's weird that nothing happens when you turn it on, but so it rotates fine. You know, no problem or issue per se. Still felt a bit of vibration. It definitely vibrated less when it was under load, when it was on the actual headlight. I want to kind of just see direct side by side how this one does. So kind of hold this. I purposely put that at some weird angles and added some weird pressure just in an effort to get it to bog down, and it really doesn't. I remember being, again, impressed by that when I was using it on the car a couple of times. I'm pretty sure I've used that one 6 times. I do my car twice a year. The other cars at least once, if not twice a year. So let's see if I can get this one to bog down. We're not getting rotation right there. So we got to a point where on that very angle, there was no actual rotation. It was just kind of vibrating. Let's see if this one does any better. It definitely slowed, but it didn't stop rotating. And so, you know, especially for something with the name TORQ, I wouldn't expect it to bog down and stop rotating. So yeah, that kind of just sealed the deal. I think we're done here. The TORQ's going back. Thankfully, Walmart will let you return something for like 25 years to life. So yeah, it's going back. Quite the disappointment, but whatever. It was only $69 to begin with. I guess if somebody, you know, buys it and it's their only polisher, it's their first polisher, and you just want to get into detailing, I guess it's worth keeping. But to be honest, the Workpro, the SPTA units are pretty nice, and they're all at that price point and not claiming to be at some 3-4 times higher price point. I think that deception is also kind of just a buzzkill for me. So yeah, that's my take on the TORQ 15DA. Even at $69, I don't find it worth it. There's definitely far better sub $100 polishers out there.